What is going on, everybody? You know what today is? Today is a turbo type of day. So I know you guys have been waiting for this, so have I. I hope you guys are as excited as I am to install this turbo kit on the car. So before we get started with the installation of everything, I want to run this by you guys really quickly. I'm going to set my camera right there. So I'm not going to fully put everything into the car, and I know that I can get the car turboed and, you know, all finished up within like 2 days or so, but I'm going to, you know, ride this turbo kit installation out, and I just want to give you guys a heads up that I'm not going to be making long ass videos about installing the turbo kit. I'm just going to break everything down to segments. Like today's goal is to get the car on the jack stands, remove the header, fully drain the cooling system so we can remove the stock partial full-size radiator out of the way of the manifold, and then we're gonna bolt the manifold up in place, possibly with the gasket and everything else, and permanently fix it in. Damn. So I went to Home Depot this morning and I forgot all the hardware. But nonetheless, I want to get the manifold installed with the turbo, everything all, you know, bolted in place, and then run the intercooler, modify the bumper, and fix that into place. That'll be today's video, and you know, more to come. I'm going to do like videos, you know, small segments, 10-minute videos on, like, you know, routing the lines and talking about lines and fittings for the return and the feed. There'll be another video on installing the alternator with the Hasport brackets and all of that, and then you know, like just a video for fabrication of the up pipes of the wastegate and the turbo, another video on intercooler piping, charge pipe once we get a blowout valve, so on and so forth. Alright, so I got my skinnies pulled off, got the slipstreams in the rear because the car's gonna be sitting like this for quite some time, and don't want to stress out the tires on that because they are also old. I got the bumper pulled off the car, and I'm about to drain the cooling system right now. Kind of taking a little bit of a turn here. I'm not going to install the manifold just yet because, again, I don't have the hardware to bolt the turbo up into the manifold. And today I'm just going to show you guys how to install the Hasport H22 relocation kit and what you're going to need to get the job done. So I'm going to drain this out, remove that, get the header off, and then we'll start removing the alternator. So I'm gonna break these two sucker off right here because I'm not going to be using that anymore, since those were welded for the stock radiator and the half core radiator. And since I'm going to be, you know, using a different radiator this time around, I'm going to make a whole new bracket for it. So we'll knock those two out in a second here, but about to get to the alternator right now. Pretty simple, 14mm right here. I believe on the bottom there's a 14 or is it 12 right here, and then belt comes off, harness, charge harness comes off, and then alternator should, well, for this car is pretty tough, but I can just kind of bend that out, pull the alternator out, and then we'll pull the bracket out. I'll grab the box of Hasport items, and I'll talk about what we are going to be using to make all of that work in here. Got the H22 alternator bracket and belt removed, and here is the single cam alternator with the matching 2-rib belt, and then the upper bracket, bottom bracket, and then here is the Hasport H22 relocating bracket kit. On the website it says for the EF, so obviously all the single cam stuff, given that this bracket is for the EF, I pulled all of that out of the motor that came from the EF. So obviously top bracket, bottom bracket, and that is what we're going to need for this installation. It does come with its own bolts right here, and you know, given that I don't have any instructions, I don't know which one goes to which one, but it is common sense, long and short. Obviously I'm going to be using the washer. No, maybe I'm not going to use the washer. YOLO. Keep these brand new bolts for a different reason. Now, if you guys watched the videos before this, I did install this before, and I actually already have the bolts on there. So let's get to installing this bracket. Now, this long one goes on the bottom with the spacer, the engravement facing inside. So this right here is for the alternator adjuster, this guy, which then bolts, I don't know where my head strap is at, but this adjuster bolts on the side like so, with his own bolt right there, and then this goes onto the bottom. So let me bolt this up real quick and show you how it looks. That is how the bottom bracket's supposed to look. This one is just hand tightened because you still got to adjust this to match the length from the top to the bottom. And yeah, let's get, see, that's all nice and loose. So the top one right here, which I am using my own Honda bolts, this bolts to, I believe, this one right here. There's a bunch of bolts on the front of the block, and it bolts to, I guess, the second layer before the top of the block right there. You can't put this on wrong because the bolt pattern is diagonal, and you know, common sense, you want this bracket to be dead straight, and these set of bolts are the ones that lines up. So I'm going to go ahead and zap that sucker in real quick. I just went over that with the ratchet. And the alternator bracket right here, again, I'm using my own bolts. Now you can Loctite these for extra insurance and ensure that these suckers won't back out. You know, with my extra tugging of the 1/2-inch ratchet, I'm almost certain these suckers won't come off. You know, most of these bolts don't even have Loctite from Honda anyways. But yeah, so the bottom bracket on the single cam actually sits on top because the alternator is going to be sitting upside down, and pretty much bolts up like that. And then yeah, I'm going to tighten these up really quickly, and then I'm going to slap the alternator on and show you how that works. Alright, so here is the alternator installed with the belt and tensioned. Can't really see it. Hopefully I can try to brighten it up in my editing program here. The belt is a 2-rib. So on the H22 pulley, it's going to be the inner rib, not the smaller one down there. It is going to be on the outside, like pretty much on the ribs closest to the outer edge of that inner pulley. And then on the alternator, obviously it's going to be dead up. When I did this a couple weeks ago, I had thought this was a cricket until I actually installed it, and it sits on the 2 outer, which then made this belt pretty straight. The alternator itself, it is mounted upside down, so the power wire is right here at the bottom, a little too close for my liking to the block. But once I run the power cable right here and it reaches, I'm gonna mount it, the 10 mil, and then I'm gonna electrical tape it too, so I can ensure that there's not gonna be any, like, you know, chances of it touching the short block and then shorting itself out. I already tensioned the alternator by putting a flathead right here at the bottom, pulled it out, and then tightened up this 12mm at the bottom. The alternator is already threaded for it, so there's no nut on the back side. My only issue, I'm not sure if I missed it in the instruction on Hasport website on the text section, but I had a nice size gap between the bracket and the alternator itself, so I had to space the bracket to the Hasport bracket right there in the back, using pretty much all of the washer that came in their bag of bolts and washers. And then I have a washer right here also in the back, which then allowed me to close the gap between all of the lower bracket to the alternator. So now the alternator is set into place, and all I'm going to do now is pretty much wire it up, and the alternator portion of this should be done. So what I'm doing right now is I already cut off this little elbow that I had on this intercooler, which is right here, because it was literally pointed right at the alternator. And I'm going to be making, you know, new bends anyways for the compressor housing, which sits like right here. And right now the intercooler is not set into place yet Before, this intercooler used to sit about right here in my other cars, which then allowed me to put the bumper on without cutting the grill. But this time around, I'm gonna fully cut that grill out and have this intercooler as much forward as possible, so I can have all the space up front, so it wouldn't be too complicated to make that you know, end tank reaching up into the compressor housing. So right now I'm about to cut that bumper all the way up into the lip and fit it all together. And then once we get the bumper and intercooler set into place, then we can start making the brackets for the intercooler to sit on, or to sit permanently in place, firmly. I got the bumper bolted up in place, so that way I know the bumper is fully compressed back. And I threw the intercooler before the bumper, so that way I don't wedge in between, because I'm already messing up a whole bunch of the paint on the side right here. But check it out, guys. Now, I was fidgeting around with the jack and spacers to get this intercooler fully like straight on the car, the bumper, because when one side of this bar is lower than the other, it really bothers me. So that is how it's going to be. The freaking intercooler is black. I'm looking at my screen right now and it's like I can't even see it, but it's there, guys. It is there. I just got to shift it maybe 1/4 of an inch that way so it can be perfectly symmetrical. And I'm gonna go in the backside right here, drill out these holes, put some spacers in there right here, and bolt the top into place, so that way we can remove the jack stands, and then we can somehow, yeah, there's little tabs down here, somehow we'll make some mounts to bolt to the traction bar. Before I get too far with the intercooler, let me show you guys what I have came up with. All right, so the bottom bung thing right here at the bottom of the intercooler is actually tapped for a 12 millimeter. I got it bolted in place right here, 112 and another 12 right there. So instead of running the Y, I decided to, thank God I have flat stock lying around, I decided to make a crossbar from this bung across over there and then bolt it in place. And what I came up with was, where's my... So I got this piece right here that I'm gonna be using to weld at the center of this flat stock from this to that, like so, right? The intercooler is gonna be pushed a ton more forward, so that way it's pretty like straight, vertical. And this is gonna get welded up here like that, right? And then this hole right here, I'm actually gonna be making a short 1-inch tab, which is gonna come off the traction bar right here. And it's gonna have a 10 millimeter nut, so I could remove this whole bracketry when I remove the intercooler for whatever reason. And then that short little tab is not gonna be in the way or have a reason to cut me or whatever. Instead, it's gonna be a nice short tucked with the traction bar and 100% bolt in, bolt out, removable when the intercooler goes on and off. Before, after. Why am I barely noticing these holes now? Anyways, so let me take you underneath real quick. Let me show you guys what I did here. See this bar across right here? Bolts it into the intercooler. And then right in the dead center of that bar, I have a little T coming off of it right here. And then this is 1.5 inches that goes to the traction bar. Now I flux cord that sucker on there and I watch it penetrate through the mask. Slow and easy wins the race. And that is secured. And then on the top side, I don't know if you can see that, I welded a 10 millimeter nut on the back of this piece right here. This right here is just pretty much a 10 millimeter that bolts up to this guy with this bracket that holds the intercooler firmly in place. Now we ain't got to worry about breaking compressor housings or breaking turbo manifolds, hopefully, but this is going to do the job. Woo! Loving it. That is going to be it for today. 2 tasks was completed. Alternator relocation. Want to give a huge shout out to AD again for donating that to the cause. Definitely came in handy, and definitely gave me a ton of clearance. And we also got the intercooler mounted firmly. Definitely hit the subscribe button. Look forward to a lot more turbo content. And as I mentioned earlier in this video, I am going to be like you know, cutting all these videos short and keep it topic related, so it doesn't seem like we're jumping into it in case somebody got confused along the way. What I am doing is just kind of like doing installation of 1 part or 2 in the same day if we have the time to do so, and kind of show you how, you know, everything goes into place rather than just tossing it on and you know, calling it a day. Tomorrow I am probably going to go to like the hardware store, probably Orchard Supply, because they had a lot more lines and a lot more organized than Home Depot, to grab all the bolts and everything I need for the turbo to the manifold, and then possibly we'll toss that in tomorrow. You know, maybe drop the oil pan and do the bung for that as well, or keep that for another video when we do the plumbing of the feed line and return line, and just make that all into one category. So like I said, there'll be a video on just about everything pertaining to the turbo installation, charge pipes, vacuum lines, so on and so forth. It's nice to finish up early, and you know, I can go inside, relax, you know, kick back, edit this video for you guys, and just kind of plan for tomorrow. So you know, with that being said, I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you guys like this one, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.